Hi West Texas, I'm Burt Sempier and welcome into another edition of our VCast series Chat with the Chief, featuring San Angelo Police Chief Travis Griffith. Chief, I haven't seen you in a few weeks. I know we're beyond the deadline, but Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, and thank you for having me. It's always a joy.
Absolutely. It's always great to speak with you. And let's start with some great news, because when you became chief, you said one of your top priorities was to increase the ranks of the SAPD.
Yes, sir.
And this week you had 13 new cadets enter into the police academy. How excited are you for them, and how do you feel about these guys answering the call to serve this city?
Oh man, we are so excited. We're just blessed beyond all measure. I mean, it's nothing short of a miracle. So our previous academies, if you will, that one didn't turn into academy, but the previous hires to be in the academy was 2 people. Before that was 3 SAPD cadets, and we've kind of been on that slow trend down. And we were really concerned about who we were going to get and when we were going to get those cadets. And so to be able to start this last Monday with 13 cadets it's been a morale boost. We're seeing people that care about this community, so we're excited. And on top of all that, we've hired 6 laterals. So we're getting closer and closer to replenishing those the rank and file, and we need it. We're already well below the Texas average, even when we're fully staffed. So we're when we get short, we really feel that.
The fact that there are these new cadets and there are these lateral officers that have willingly said, I'm going to leave where I am to come to San Angelo.
Yeah.
You mentioned the morale boost, but maybe you can expand on that a little bit for the men and women of the SAPD. Just the fact that they see that people want to be working with them and protect this community.
Yeah, it does. It really affects every aspect of it, and not only just in the ability to answer more calls for service and do it more effectively, but some of these guys have been local. You know, they came over from area law enforcement, and that's always good because they know the community. And a lateral gets their training much faster. So we could have a lateral from the time that they're hired and sworn in to the time that they're doing good by themselves, about 20 weeks.
So that still seems long.
It is a long time, but it is way faster than we're looking at 10 months or so for these guys that are in the academy before they're able to do any good by themselves. And we have an attrition rate in our cadet classes of about 20 to 25%. So we know we're going to lose some of those guys, and I say we know that. We know that there's a chance of that, and we hope not. We have some really good our cadre, all the trainers out there that are with our academy are awesome, and so it is the big step in the right direction, and we're excited about it, and it helps everybody see we're going to get some relief.
These cadets spending nearly a year in training, what does that training look like, and would one word to describe it maybe be rigorous?
Yeah, rigorous is good because, I mean, you spend that first almost 6 months. I mean, it depends on how much you put into a training versus in service. So, but the first time where you're trying to get licensed can be, just shy of 6 months. And so in that time frame, you're hitting state mandated trainings. We have fitness a part of that. We also have added jiu-jitsu, so being more proficient in ground grappling and be able to get people into custody. That is proven to lower injuries to officers, gives more confidence, and officers also it lowers injuries to suspects. Because you know how to effectively utilize ground grappling to get people into custody. So we're trying to get that across the board. We eventually want to get that to where it's incentivized, maybe like a stipend or something where once you show proficiency and you maintain that proficiency, that you can get more money, because that truly does save money and time and energy.
And maybe a future in MMA as well. Who knows?
Yeah. But throughout all that physical aspect of fitness and all that stuff, right? They also do a intense amount of learning the laws of the state of Texas. So people think that there's just like one book and you open it up, right? Like it's kind of like the Bible or whatnot. To some aspect there is, but really what it gets into is that book is there's several books into one. So we have a penal code, which is really dealing with like the laws that have to do with just normal arresting, and then we have what's called the CCP, the Code of Criminal Procedures is what the full name is, and that provides like how to apply, like what the the procedural side of applying those laws. And then you have the traffic code, the family code, in some aspects where we're dealing with our folks out at the lake, we have the water code. It just continues on. Health and safety code, so that's having to do with like drugs and consumer products and some stuff that gets into that. And then there's some abstract stuff that gets into like agriculture law. We have some agriculture stuff out here. So needing to know all those things. And then we live in the world of the government code for like our employment and stuff like that. So all those codes you go through, and we have a metric, kind of what we're looking for, and we try to provide that knowledge to them, and hopefully that they are able to retain it and use it and go forth and be productive police officers.
It seems like it's very easy to take for granted all of the laws and scenarios that an officer has to keep in mind or think back to when they're out in the field.
Yes, sir. And there's added to that, there's also what's called case law, which is basically where courts have ruled what laws can still be really enforced, because you might have a law on a book that has been null and voided by a court system. So the courts have said, hey, is this balancing off the Constitution? Is this appropriate? Or they may give instruction for our region to say, hey, yeah, when you do this, you're going to need A, B, and C to be able to enforce that law. So it's a lot, and you have to constantly stay up on it and do in-service training. It's not just, I'm going to learn to be a cop and that's it. It's a constant growth and development process throughout your entire career.
Speaking of the Academy, on January 29th, SAPD will be holding a ribbon cutting at Howard College. I see the smile. Tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, we've been excited about that. Something we've been working for a while, and it's just exciting to see. So basically, it's a joint partnership between Howard College and the police department. We hope that that's going to be tipping our toe in the water of bigger, better things too. But what we're going to provide is, through that partnership, the cadets will come out of the police academy with 18 college credits. And so that being said, that gives you a lot of incentive there to hopefully continue your degree, or it builds towards the degree plan that you already might have hours in. And so we're trying to get these guys to realize education may not be the end all be all when it comes to a police officer when we're talking about college, but it does help you provide a better way forward. So like being able to have a degree in English or something like that, you're going to write better reports. If you're versed in even philosophy, you understand a little bit about the way that the human brain works, right?
Yeah. That would be the goal.
When you talk about Socrates, right, saying that I know that I don't know, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
So that in an investigative mind, that's thinking about, hey, don't jump to conclusions. Start from zero, start looking forward. So no matter what your degree plan might be in, it's always useful because you have a discipline that you've proven yourself in, and it's just it's a healthy thing to exercise that brain. So we encourage that. It's a good step forward, and then furthermore, it just provides a good learning environment. It's closer to town for our cadets. It's closer to our gun range. There's a lot of good things that goes into that. I can't say enough about Pam Cowan out at Howard College. She's amazing, and just super excited about what the future holds for us out there.
Exciting times, positive times
Yes,
at the SAPD.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
switch gears a little bit.
Yes, sir.
In recent days, there have been some terrible structure fires in the area. There was a house fire in Roscoe. Yesterday, there was one at Lake Sweetwater. Obviously, the investigation continues, but I bring those up just because conditions are about to get very cold again here in West Texas. People will be using space heaters and whatnot.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, I could ask the fire department this, but from a law enforcement point of view, since your men and women are out there, the threat of house fires, structure fires during these cold months, is that just something you guys have to keep in the back of your mind during this time of year? Is it a concern for you guys at all?
Oh, it is. It's what we consider a priority call whenever it comes into dispatch. You're almost always going to get probably 3 officers on a structure fire because we have we're the first ones that are going to get there and start trying to make sure the house is empty. We're hoping that we can get somebody that says, hey, everybody's out of the house. We're also going to be trying to block off roadways for the fire crew to be able to get connected to a hydrant. And it's dangerous because we've had cases over the years, and nobody looks at themselves as heroes, but we've had some very heroic things that have happened over the years of officers being able to go in and help people get out of fires. It's not a role, it's not a responsibility, but you never know when you might be thrust into a situation where you might have to have life-saving measures. And so in those situations, we're always trying to be mindful. And because we're always out patrolling, sometimes we'll see smoke and we'll go check it out, or maybe we get a call where somebody says, hey, there's some smoke in the neighborhood, and we have an officer close by. We'll go look before we go, taking resources away in regards to fire department stuff. So, yeah, it is something that we're constantly looking at, and it is West Texas and all the dry weather and stuff going on, something we might be really cognizant of, and just terrible situations, like you mentioned in the greater region of San Angelo that have had some terrible tragedies, and just my heart's with those folks.
Is that one of the more frightening calls for an officer to respond to, a house fire or a structure fire in general?
You know what, it can be. It's one of those situations, I think, that it's case by case, but if a large structure fire, especially when somebody's in there, is I think it's probably the scariest thing is that we're human beings, and we're pretty versed in knowing how to chase bad guys and get people into custody, and that is outside of our wheelhouse, and so it takes you out of your element, and so it's where the rubber meets the road into making sure you're staying purpose-driven, and that you're not letting emotions run both good and bad, because if you just go charge it into an environment that you are not prepared for, then we're just adding more work for the firemen. So being able to balance those quick second decisions to say, I got to do it right now, or to know, hey, I got to stay out, and then live with those decisions. Those are hard.
During our chats, from time to time, I ask you about some of the calls officers have been on recently, and earlier this week, there were two teenagers, a 14 and an 18-year-old, who have been charged after allegedly breaking into a couple of businesses here in town. One was a Julio's Burritos. We understand that there was some property damage. Just curious what maybe you can share with us,
Sure.
Because I know there was also a foot pursuit once officers were able to catch up with the pair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, first off, this is a perfect moment for me to be able to brag on some outstanding patrol officers that have just been, as we've been a little newer in the area of different officers that have been coming in over the years, and some outstanding work of these guys to be able to have the wherewithal to know where to get to use that training experience that they have, to be able to get in and catch these guys. It was a great investigative aspect from the patrol officers on scene to be able to put different aspects to this together. Without that, we're not able to get to the probable cause that we're looking for, and then the investigative side to be able to come in behind that and shore up everything and make it's what we ask for, right? The community, I think, doesn't really understand the full totality of what it means to, when you think we just go and catch somebody that's in a building. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we're catching them outside the building, around the corner, down the street, a mile away, whatever it might be, and we're putting all these pieces together. Those guys just did an outstanding job. I can't be more proud of them, and that's what makes the real difference, is good police work that's out there catching bad guys. And if you go back, that's in a long strain of burglars being arrested. We've had, if you go back and look at our Facebook, we post those on there too, but it's just been one after the other of burglars being caught by solid police work. Some investigation work that's going on right now that I know we're about to get a few more cases put together. So it's been, even though short-staffed, we have some people that are 100% they are bulldogs when it comes to getting those people, because we take that personally. When businesses might have to shut down, when a family's house is broken into, when you take the safety and the mindset of being able to be at peace in your own home away, we want to get out there and catch those guys. And so they've done an outstanding job, and I'm proud of them.
Very early on in the beginning of our series, you had mentioned that essentially regardless of age, you make a mistake, you can always end up on the path to redemption.
Yes, sir.
It's interesting to hear a 14-year-old being involved with this. Obviously, 18, you are technically an adult, and I imagine you feel the same for these two individuals, as long as they're basically, I guess, being helpful towards your investigation and what's going on in the criminal justice system.
Well, and helpful or not, we hope that these individuals, regardless of their age, find the path forward to being a better, productive citizen. And that kind of builds into some of my faith, for sure, but I think also just into the greater aspect of what San Angelo believes, that we don't ever want to just see, the national trend right now is, canceling people, right? Mm-hmm. That's not a way forward for a society, because we all make mistakes and we all fall short. And so finding a way forward doesn't mean you have a situation where maybe your tax man has stolen money from you, that you let him do your taxes again. But there is a way forward. It might be something different. And there's no different whether that be an officer that messes up, or a citizen, or a criminal, or whatever that might be involved in those different things, is that there's always a way to say, I'm going to take a different stance and stand for something more, to be, to hold myself to an honorable standard. So I think in those things, regardless of what happens to their case, or helpful or not, that at some point, earlier the better, that they find that they have the ability to move forward from that. Man, that's what we hope and pray for, because that helps on us not having to deal with them again, and we can push towards that in other areas.
And let's wrap this episode up with looking ahead to next week. Next Monday is going to be a very pivotal day here in the United States, where President-elect Trump gets sworn back into office. We know Texas voted for President-elect Trump. Obviously, the inauguration takes place in Washington, D.C., but because this is such a major event in our country, do you guys have to maybe keep in tune with what's happening? Do you speak with any federal partners or Congressman Pfluger just about, hey, we've heard chatter about this or no chatter about this? How does that day look for you in the SAPD?
Yeah, so it's also Martin Luther King Day, and
Yep.
So that's a great time to celebrate him, and I'm going to try to go to a few events that day. But for us, it is a holiday, so it's a city holiday. So it actually shortens us on regards to what we call auxiliary law enforcement support staff. So like if a detective's in the office, he's not really geared up to go and fight crime and suppress evil in the same manner that a patrol officer is, but it doesn't take much for them to get there. So when those detectives aren't there, some of the administration positions aren't there, some of our other officers are off because of that, we're actually going to put a few extra patrol officers out. We want to make sure that, number one, people feel safe and know that, and that's a good question. We went back and forth on it, because we're not exactly in an environment where there could be some sort of major event. It's highly unlikely, but I would rather err on the side of caution with the status of the border that has been over the course of the last little bit, and know that we are not that far off. And so if there was nefarious activity at play, that we at least have more resources than we would have not be caught flat-footed.
All right, Chief, thank you as always for coming in.
Yeah, it's always glad to be here.
All right, that'll do it for another episode of our VCAS series, Chat with the Chief, featuring none other than SAPD Chief Travis Griffith. That'll do it for this episode. We'll see you next time.